Okie doke. Let's get started. If nobody else has anything to say, then we're going to go to our, did you have something else, Kylie?
No.
Okay.
Sorry.
Page 19 in the grammar book. So go ahead and go to page 19. Did anybody have any questions about last week's homework at all before we get started? Seems like everybody's okay. All right. I've graded some of them, not all of them. Make sure you guys turn it in by the night before. It's due a Monday nights by midnight. Okay. Because if it's after that, if it's later than that, sometimes I don't get to it till a lot later. So I want to be able to give you feedback on it. But I know you just turned it in, so I'll be looking at it in the next couple of days. But anyway, we're talking about on page 19, adjectives. So it says an adjective describes a noun. You guys already know that. That's easy peasy cheesy, or sometimes a pronoun. It can come before the noun it describes, like young boy, or it can follow a linking verb and describe the subject of the clause. Boy was young. So it could be like that, where the word young, which is the adjective, comes after the noun. Possessive adjective. And to possess something is to own it. If you possess something, it's yours. Here comes Ian. It shows ownership. So it answers the question, whose? That's one of the questions you can ask when you're trying to find an adjective in the sentence. When a noun is followed by an apostrophe plus an S, it functions as a possessive adjective. In the same way, the possessive pronouns my, your, his, her, its, our, their function as possessive adjectives. So all you're going to do is look for that and mark it with an ADJ for adjective. And the easiest way to do this is to find the noun first, because those are super easy to spot. When you find the noun, look at these questions over here in the margin of this page. It says which one, what kind, how many, or whose. If you think about those questions about the noun, that will help you find the adjective. So here we have the example. The wolf's desire to protect her young cubs was instinctive. There's a bunch of adjectives in here, but you can see the wolf's desire. So actually that word desire is a noun. And I know this because it's following the, which is an article. Anytime you have a word either right after or soon after an article, a, an, or the, it's going to be a noun. So in this sentence, desire is a noun. Sometimes it can be a verb though. If you desire to eat ice cream, like me, then that's going to be a verb, right? You desire ice cream. Hey, mom, I desire ice cream. Your mom would be like, what? Okay. But anyway, desire could be a verb, but in this sentence, it is a noun because of that word, the. But here we've got wolves with an apostrophe S. So you can ask the question, whose desire? It's the wolf's desire. And when you ask whose, it's right here. It's one of the questions to find the adjective that becomes the adjective. Okay. Here we have her young. Who's young? It's her young. So they're both adjectives because they're talking about the cubs, right? That's the noun. Young is another adjective describing the cubs. So her young is together here. And then was instinctive. And that's just part of describing the wolf's desire is instinctive. That adjective is also telling more about her desire. It's describing that. So what kind of desire? You can ask what kind right here. What kind of desire? It's an instinctive desire. Any questions about those adjectives before we move on? If not, shake your head no for me. And Ian, are you there? Can you turn on your camera?
Yeah.
Can see you? Okay. We're on page 19. So we're moving on to quality adjective. This is a dress up. You guys who took my class last year, well, and I know Aubrey had a class last year too. This is part of a dress up word and it's coming. It's not on our list yet, but it will be. It dresses up writing because it creates a strong image or feeling. I always like to give the example of a rainbow being the noun. That's the noun, a rainbow. But if I call it a pretty rainbow, that's a good adjective. It is an adjective. But if I say the colorful rainbow, colorful is more of a quality adjective because it gives you an image in your head. You know, you've probably seen a lot of rainbows in the sky before. Some of them can be faded. Some of them you can see all the colors, and some of them you can see just a few colors. But if I say the colorful rainbow, it makes you imagine when you saw a rainbow with all of the colors. So that gives you a stronger image. That's what a quality adjective does. Instead of a word like his or hers, those are adjectives, but they don't really give you a quality of visual or an image in your head. So that's what you need to be thinking of. There is a page in the back, Appendix 2, it's way in the back, a blank page if you want to make it your own list of the adjectives that you like that are quality, just so you can keep track of them and use them in your writing. You can do that. It's optional. Okay. And then the who, which clause, you're familiar with that. That's already on your checklist. It's a dependent clause that begins with the word who or which. It is an adjective clause because it follows the noun that it describes. So the whole thing is telling about the noun before. Use the pronoun who when referring to people, personified animals, and pets. Use the pronoun which when referring to things, animals, and places. So you guys are pretty good with that. The subject of most who, which clauses is who or which. Most of them, not all of them. But sometimes the subject is another word in the clause. But a lot of times it's who or which, so that's something to keep in mind. There's some comma rules that we need to remember when it comes to who, which clauses. Place commas around a who, which clause if it's non-essential. Do not place commas around a who, which clause if it is essential. So in order to determine if it is essential, that means do you have to have it in order for the sentence to fully make sense? Sometimes if you're describing, like there was a sentence the other day that said, the men who worked for the king could not be trusted. That was the sentence. So if I take out that who clause and just say the men could not be trusted, it leaves you with which men are we talking about? Are we talking about like tall men, short men, the men in this group, the men in the city, which men are we talking about, right? So it's when it becomes essential, like when I say the men who worked for the king, now is a very specific group of men. So that changes that sentence and that becomes essential. When it's essential, you do not need commas when it's essential. Okay, you just plug it in there, no commas, because you have to have it in there for the sentence to make sense. If it's non-essential, if it's just giving extra detail and you don't necessarily need it in there, then you need commas. So look at this example here. Mowgli had a bold spirit, which the wolves admired. So the bold spirit, the wolves admired it, which is good to know, but it's not essential. It's not essential to that sentence. So you are going to insert a comma here. It's not telling what kind of bold spirit. It's not telling more about the bold spirit as far as detail. It is telling that they admired it, which is good, but it's not essential. So when you mark it, you're going to put parentheses around the which clause, put W/W, and then S for subject, wolves, and then admired is the verb. So in this example, which is not the subject, it's wolves. The wolves admired. There's a note down here, weeks 4 to 18 contain only non-essential who, which clauses. So we're in week 4. So you have lots of weeks left before you're going to see essential. They require commas. So you're going to basically know for a long time in this book, you're going to use commas. Week 19, which is probably like Christmas time or after, you will learn how to determine if a clause is essential or non-essential. So this is just kind of a heads up. Week 21, you will learn when a who, which clause should go with whom or whose. And those are also words you can use in a who, which clause. Yeah. Did you have a question? No? Okay. Let's go on to the back of that page, 20. Page 20, we're talking about quotation marks. That's when we have characters that are speaking, and capitalization and end marks. So they indicate words that are spoken. The quote is the sentence in the quotation marks. The attribution is the person speaking and the speaking verb. And then here's a comma rule. Use a comma to separate the attribution from a direct quote. And that is true every time. You're going to separate it out. Look at the examples here. These are like little notes for you to look at. The attribution is like, he said, and then whatever he said is the quote, right? So the attribution comes first. When it comes first, there's a comma and then the quote. Sometimes the quote comes first and then the attribution, like the quote could be, go take the trash out, he said. I'm just making up stuff, okay? Go take the trash out, he said. So there's a comma after the quote and before the attribution. And then here is how it's split up. So if it starts with a quote, take the trash out, he said, don't forget to close the lid. Okay, so this would be an example of he said in the middle, the attribution in the middle. And notice that there's a comma before and after the attribution. And also look very carefully at this. Anytime you have a comma near the end of a quote, it's going to go on the inside of the quote, the quotation mark. So it's a quote, comma, and then the quotation mark. Okay, so look at that detail there. When you go to type something with speaking parts, that's how you would do it. Here it is if it's a question, same thing as above, attribution, comma, quote with a question mark, attribution, comma, quote with an exclamation mark, those are the same. And then if you reverse those, quote, attribution. So if it has an exclamation mark, you don't need a comma also, just the exclamation mark. Mother Wolf insisted, leave this place. Okay, so we have capitalization rules here. We need to capitalize Mother Wolf. And then that's the attribution, right? She insisted, comma, that's the attribution. Quote begins here. We treat it like a new sentence in a quote. So it needs a capital at the beginning, and then the end mark goes inside the quotation mark. Those are the details you need to pay attention to because those are the things you're going to fix in this book. Look at the next example. I will get him in the end, the tiger snarled. So the quote is coming first, so treat it like a sentence, capital I, and then instead of a period, it's going to be a comma, and then the tiger snarled. No period here, it's going to be a comma. The tiger snarled. Bleh. Okay, any questions about that? Quotation marks and all that? Nope. Okay, you guys good? You're not falling asleep on me, are you? Everybody looks tired today. All right, we're going to get into the practice here in a minute, but usage with pronoun agreement. These are all the pronouns we have in the English language. A personal pronoun should agree with the antecedent in number, person, and case. Case refers to the way a pronoun functions in a sentence. It can be the subject of the sentence or subjective. It can be the object of the sentence or objective, or it can be possessive. And notice that, hold on, let me look at my notes here. Oh, this is for later. Okay. See how it says singular and plural. So singular, these are all first person across, second person, and third person. We've talked about this before. First person is when you're speaking or it's from your perspective as the writer. Second person is when you're talking to someone else or you're talking about someone that's right in front of you, you would use the word you and your. Third person is when you're not in it, okay? You're talking about a completely separate set of characters, and that's usually how we write our stories. If you're writing about someone separate or a character that's separate, these are the words you would use there. And then, of course, plural, meaning more than one. Okay, first person, you would include yourself and say we or us or our, okay, or ours. Second person, you, your, yours. That one doesn't really change. And third person, they, them, their, theirs, separate from you. If a pronoun functions as a subject, use a subjective case pronoun. If a pronoun follows a preposition, not a proposition, a preposition, and functions as the objective of the preposition, object, I mean. Use an objective case pronoun. If a pronoun describes a noun, use a possessive case pronoun that functions as an adjective. I know that's a mouthful, but you'll get it as we go along in this book. Place a line through the incorrect pronoun and write the correct pronoun above it. Look at the sentence at the very, very bottom here. Mowgli enjoyed the cubs. It originally said his played with they in theirs cave. Sounds like we're talking from where we're from somewhere else. Like, I don't know. Texas, Oklahoma.
Mexico.
Not really Mexico. It would be more like South.
Well, if they spoke English.
Yeah, true. His played with they in theirs cave. I can't read that without an accent. I have to say it like that. It doesn't sound right. Okay, so anyway, they fixed it for you. Now it says he played with them in their cave. That sounds much better. But notice here, he is the subject of this sentence. Let's focus on this one because this one has the most problems right here. He played with them in their cave. He is the subject. See how we have the subject there? That's considered a subjective pronoun because it's the subject. Okay, with them is a prepositional phrase, right? They underlined it for you, with them, not with they. That doesn't make sense. So with them, that's a prepositional phrase. So you change it to the object of the preposition. We've got the preposition with, and that's the object. That's what they're talking about, with them. Same here. Well, a little different here. Their cave. This is an adjective. Like, whose cave is it? It's their cave. It's their cave. So that becomes an adjective. And that is a possessive pronoun. Whose cave? It's their cave. All right. That was a lot. Do you guys have any questions about that page at all? You're good? Okay. I see you. Let's go to the practice page, and I need somebody to volunteer to read it today, please. All right, Kylie.
Hello, Miko.
You're my faithful reader.
She growled. The man's cub, who is now mine, lives here. Him shall run with the pack and hunt with the pack. He will grow up and hunt you.
Almost feels like we need to start talking like this. Him shall run. Him shall run. Anyways, okay. Good job reading that. And the word is pack. And that word has multiple meanings. You can pack for a trip, but in this sentence, what does pack mean? Who can explain that?
Wolf pack.
Aubrey? Saw your hand there. Are you unmuting? Aubrey, are you trying to unmute? Oh, you need to unmute. It takes too long to do the chat. Okay. You can just say it. Oh, it won't let you talk? It won't let you unmute? That's weird. Do you know how to unmute? Okay. So you're right. It is a pack of wolves. So in this sentence, it just means like a group, a pack of wolves. All right. We've got 3 articles here, a, and the. Go ahead and find those. There's only 3. Go ahead and find them and label them for me. They're all those. And then Matt, when you're ready, go ahead and tell us where the 3 nouns are.
Man's, or no, she.
Wait, what word? She?
Mm-hmm.
We're looking for nouns, not pronouns yet.
Okay. Cub
Cub, yes.
and hunt.
That's going to be a verb. So look at the articles, the. It's going to mean that there's a noun coming right after.
Packed.
Pack is one, and then there's one here too.
Packed.
And pack again. So that's your clue. When you see an article, you know a noun is coming. Here we've got an adjective in between the article and the noun, but that's something to always remember when you see an article. The noun is near. 5 pronouns. That's a lot. Alex, do you know where all the pronouns are?
She.
Okay, good.
Mine, is that a pronoun?
It is. Very good.
Him.
Good. Actually, let's fix that. Let's fix that really quick. It shouldn't be him shall run. What should it be? He, and we might as well make it a capital. He shall run, and we'll put PR on top of that. And what's another one?
He.
He again.
And you.
And you. Good. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Good. Coordinating conjunctions. So, Aubrey, that was when we did fanboys. You remember that acronym we talked about before? I'm just going to write it right here to help you guys remember that. And since your microphone somehow is not working today, go ahead and put in the chat the 2 coordinating conjunctions in this sentence. And we'll come back to that. And then Ian, where's the adjective? Do you see the adjective in here?
The adjective.
It's going to describe one of the nouns. So we've got, you can look at your noun.
Man's.
Yes, very good. It's telling whose cubs, man's cubs. Okay. Prepositional phrases, your favorite, Kylie. It's you.
With the pack.
With the pack, good.
And with the pack.
And with the pack. They're the same. All right, main clauses. And those a lot of times are the whole sentence. Main clauses, Matt, you want to try to find those? Oh, wait, we got the coordinating conjunctions. What did she say? And. Okay, good. CC and CC. What about the main clauses, Matt? There's
Sorry, I keep on
4
muted.
of them. There's 4 of them. I'm going to give you a clue because this is kind of tricky. This is a speaking part here, which we're going to put some quotation marks in, but let's pause. But I'm going to have you do the main clauses. But it says she growled. That's the attribute.
Growled the man's cub.
Yeah, so put a comma after growled. Everybody do that. And then put quotation marks around what she said, which goes all the way to the very end here. She growled, comma, the man's cub, blah, 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 blah. Okay, we'll check the quotation marks since we already got that. I'm going to tell you, Matt, that the first clause is she growled. And remember, the clauses have to have a subject and a verb pair. So what do you think the next clause is?
He shall run.
It starts with the man and it goes all the way to lives here. So it's the whole sentence. The man cub who is now mine lives here. And then the next clause is the next sentence. So what is the next clause here, the main clause?
He shall run
Yes,
until all the way to the end.
all the way to pack. Yes, at the end of that sentence. And then the last main clause is the last sentence all the way to the end. He will grow up and hunt you. So most of the time, a main clause is the whole sentence. It does break it up when you have an attribution. That's its own clause, separate from what is being said. Just remember that when you do your homework this week, but those are the main clauses. How about the who, which clause, Alex?
Who is now mine?
Yep, who is now mine, so W/W there. And now we have some subject verb pairs. So Aubrey, I'm going to have you type in the 5 subjects. And then Ian, go ahead and tell me where the verbs are. So put your camera on and tell me where the verbs are. Are you there, Ian?
Yeah, sorry.
Okay. I want you to keep your camera on so I can see you, okay?
Okay.
And then I want you to tell me where the verbs are. Some of them are action words, some of them are linking or helping verbs. Are you looking at your page? So I'll help you with the first one. She growled. That's a verb. So we'll mark that as a verb. Where else are the verbs?
Now,
Not now, but is a verb. That's a linking verb. Is a linking verb.
run,
Run is a verb. Good.
lives,
Lives is a verb. Yep.
hunt,
Good.
grow,
Grow. And it's actually grow up. We're going to mark it like that. It's one of those that is combined. Grow up is a verb together.
and then hunt.
A verb. And then hunt again. And then there's one more shall. Shall run. That's a helping verb right there. Shall run. I think that's all of them. Oh, and then will. This is also a helping verb. Will grow up. Okay, so let me see. She picked these subjects. She, that's right. That's a subject. Cub. That's a subject. Good. He is the subject of the next sentence here. So I'm gonna have to squeeze my S right here, but this is for he right here. And mine, she says, and where is mine? Oh, yeah. Mine is not a subject, actually. In this who clause right here, this is the subject who. Okay, so that one, not mine, it's going to be who is now mine. So the subject in that one is who. And not pack. We already have a subject in this sentence. It's he. And then in this sentence, it's he again. Not pack. It's he shall run and he will grow up. Does that make sense, Aubrey? Okay. Good. There's a lot going on in this one. Opener, Kylie, what kind of an opener do we have here?
Subject.
Good. It's just number 1, subject opener. Capitals. You guys can do the capitals. I'm sure you know where those are. Go ahead and find those at the beginning of each, even the beginning of the quote. And then every sentence has a capital. We got 1, 2, 3, 4. Got those. Commas, we added one. There's more we need to do. So Matt, do you know where the commas go? I'll give you a clue. It has to do with the who clause. We're going to have to put it around the who clause. So where
The
should
man's cub, comma.
Yes, after cub, and then where else?
Comma after he now mine, rather.
Yep, after mine. Good. That's right. And then there's a couple of commas that we need to take out. Do you see where those are?
He shall run. The one
Yeah.
after there.
Yeah, take that one out.
And grow up.
Okay, good. Good. That's right. We don't need to chop up those sentences, especially because they're only connecting two things, right? Grow up and hunt. If it was grow up and hunt and run, that would be three things and you would need commas. But when you only are listing two, you don't need that. End mark is an exclamation mark here. And by the way, it's going to go on the inside of your quotation mark. And hunt you. So with passion. And then we already fixed the usage, which was him. We fixed it to he. That was a lot to do. Did you guys get it? Everybody's good? Any questions about the page we did here? Okay, good.
I'm still writing some of it.
Okay, I'll leave it. When you go to rewrite it, make sure you put that exclamation mark on the inside of the quotation mark. Excuse me. I know we went kind of fast there. Your homework pages will be page 22, 23, and 24. The next 3 pages, day 2, 3, and 4, you'll do those at home. All right, let's put away your grammar book. And go ahead and get out your binders next. All right, this week you guys worked on the Frederick Douglass report. I saw that some of you turned it in. If you haven't turned it in yet, please do that soon. It's due the night before, so don't forget to turn it in by midnight the night before.
Wait, did I turn it in?
I didn't see yours yet. Why don't you check on your end there?
Okay.
It might, I haven't looked at it since early this morning, so. As far as the Frederick Douglass, we're going to start putting that stuff away now. So
Yay.
we're done with that one. Yeah. Frederick Douglass. Some of that's going to go in different spots. So let me show you. Too. There's a lot of papers in here. Hold on, I got to get mine out too.
Yeah, I turned it in.
Okay, good. This one, let's put this one away first, this yellow page right here. That one goes behind the tab that says model charts and outlines. By the way, be really careful with your binder because it does bite. It will bite you. Kylie knows.
And a little slice you too.
How many pages, excuse me, how many pages should I have out for this the new thing?
We're not there yet, so hold off on getting out the new stuff. We're just putting
Alright.
away the old stuff first. So make sure this one, this yellow one, goes behind model charts and outlines, which is this tab right here. It says model charts and outlines, okay? There should already be one in there from before that looks like this. So put it behind that one, okay? So these 2 pages should be behind model charts and outlines. When you open and close your rings, just a reminder to use the 2 tabs at the top and the bottom of the rings, because if you pull on the rings with your fingers, it might bend it and then your pages won't turn right and it'll be a mess. So make sure you use the top and bottom tabs. Okay. The next page that I want you to put away is before you put it away though, this one here, this yellow page, don't put it away yet, but turn to this one. It should be in your packet from Frederick Douglass. We need to add one more dress up. You should have on here ly adverb and who which. So this one should say ly adverb. This one's who which. This is page 23. It's yellow. Clause. And now we're going to add a strong verb for number 3. We talked about that a little bit, but we'll talk about that more when we get to that checklist. Once you add these 3 things on here under dress ups, then you can put this yellow page behind stylistic techniques tab. This is the stylistic techniques tab, looks like that.
What are
And
we putting back there?
behind that. We're putting this yellow page here, Matt. Page 23. Any other questions while we're doing this? You
And
guys-
where do I put pages?
The rest of them, if you're talking about pages 19 and 21, and this is with the
I have
the
stuff all the
article.
way up to 30 and everything.
Yes, all of these are going to go with wherever you keep your finished work. This year, I asked you to get a second binder or a second file folder to keep all of this in. So I don't want it back in the IEW folder or binder. I want it
All right,
in
and
separate
where do
file.
I put the banned words list?
Okay. The banned words list is going to go. Are we working on that today? Let me see. Hold on, Matt. Hold that thought. Just put away the other stuff first, okay?
Okay, and I also have something out for Maui and the giant fish.
Yes, keep that out. Yes, keep that out. I know we took that out last week. Okay, let's talk about that. You're going to keep out week 3. So that includes this pink page and the banned words page. So keep these out. And the story, there's a bunch here. All the stuff that says week 3 on it, keep that out. Don't put that
Ow.
away yet.
It bit me. Again.
It
Wait,
did?
so we're gonna do that this week?
We're going to do that today, yes. So keep all that out. You do need a piece of lined paper too.
Wait, take it out of the binder?
So I know this sounds confusing, but we are going to work on week 3, this one called Maui and the Giant Fish. That's what we're working on today. We got it out last week, but we didn't do much with it yet, okay? I just got it out so you could be ready for it. So don't put this away. I was having you put away the Frederick Douglass stuff. That's all gone. We put all that away. Now we're looking at week 3. It starts on page 33 and it goes all the way to 44. 33 to 44, I want you to keep out. Does that make sense?
So take
And-
it out of the binder?
Yes, take it out of the binder and a lined piece of paper.
How many? You wanted me say that you wanted me to take out week 4?
No, I do not want you to take out week 4. I want you to keep out week 3.
Okay, I have. And how many? Which pages is that?
Page 33, page 30, hold on. They're not in order. Page 33, page 35, page 37.
My page, my
Page-
Maui and the giant fish thing is page 43.
And you're looking at this page, right?
Oh, okay.
The checklist. I'm talking
So
about.
I need to have out which.
Okay, just relax. It's okay, Matt. I need you to get out all of week 3, and it starts on page 33 in your binder. The thing that's confusing you, Matt, is we took this out last week, but so look for it in your front pocket. If it's not there, look for it in your binder, but it should be, we got this out last week and we started
I
it.
took out too much from the week in front of us.
Yeah, don't take out week 4. Leave that in there.
Okay.
All right. Hopefully everybody's got their stuff out. And you need a lined piece of paper, so.
Oh, I don't know where my page 33 is.
Well, it's not essential, so if you can't find it, don't worry about it because it's just like the lesson plan.
I only have 4 pages from week 3.
All right, well, we're gonna start, let's look at the yellow page first. We kind of talked about this last week. You guys remember this one? Do you have page 35? It's yellow like this.
I
Okay.
have that.
Good, good. We went over this briefly last week. I just want to remind you, we're moving into the story sequence chart. We did that last year. And it's the same thing. There's 3 paragraphs. The opening paragraph usually talks about the characters and setting. Who is in the story? What are they like? When did it happen, or when does it happen? And where do they live or go? That's usually all the things that are in the first paragraph. And then it moves into the conflict and the problem. That's the middle paragraph. What do they need or want? What do they think? What do they say and do? And then the last paragraph, the third one, is the climax and resolution. How is the need resolved? What happens after? And what is the message or the lesson? And then there's the title rule at the bottom. Remember last year, and I know Aubrey's new to my class, but last year we talked about the movie Kung Fu Panda, the original one, the first one. And that's a great example of this format. Even though it's a movie, it's different than a written story. But in that movie, in the beginning, the opening scene, you see Po, which is the panda, the main character. He's playing with his action figures. And the action figures are all the different characters on that Kung Fu team, right? And you're getting to know the characters, even though they're little action figures, he's having them talk to each other and battle. And so it's an introduction to the characters. And then the setting, you can see in Poe's house where he lives at the restaurant that his dad owns, and they serve noodles. You guys remember that part? So that's a good example of opening a story, talking about the characters and setting. Then the conflict comes in the middle of the story. And remember, there's a bad guy. I can't remember his name at the moment, unless somebody else does, but he's the bad guy that comes in. He wants to rule the city. He wants to take over. And do you remember his name?
No.
Yeah. So then they need somebody to battle this guy, but the Kung Fu team isn't strong enough. And later we find out that Po has a special power. Remember the whole pinky skadoosh thing that he does, the wushu finger hold or something like that he does. He discovers that about himself, that he has that hidden power. But when they're in a conflict with each other, Po is battling the bad guy, and he's getting beat up really bad in the middle of the movie. And the climax is that right here, this is where they're starting to resolve it. The climax is when we don't know if Poe's going to die or if he's going to win the battle. We've seen it, so we know he wins. But that climax is the part where you don't know if the character is going to win or lose. And then how is it resolved and what happens after? And then the message for that movie was, even though Po, he was a big panda, he was clumsy and goofy, and everybody else was like super polished and like professional, and they were really good at kung fu fighting, and Po was kind of sloppy about it, right? But he had a power that nobody else had, and he had the power to battle, to defeat the bad guy. So the lesson we can learn is, don't judge a book by its cover, right? Don't judge a character or a person by how they look. They have, everybody has a skill and a talent, and we need each other.
I honestly don't remember any part of that movie.
Well, hopefully I helped you remember some of that, but let's get out your lined paper next. We're going to set up the story sequence chart. I'll show you how to do that. Start by putting your name at the upper left, and today's date is 9/24/24. Maybe you have to go see the movie now or find it on Netflix or the Disney. Go ahead and skip a line, and we're going to call this Maui and the Giant fish. And this is underneath that, put story, sequence.
I've already read the story.
You did? Okay.
Yeah, I got bored, so I just read it.
Oh, okay. Now, to set this up, I'm going to go kind of fast because we're running out of time, but let me know. I'm going to leave this here so you guys can keep working on it as I'm talking. You're going to skip 2 lines. And then right about the middle of your paper, I want you to draw a line down about that far. And it does not have to be perfect. So don't stress if it's not perfect. But somewhere in the middle. What's that?
Said no, not this.
Yeah, remember this now? Your
Yeah.
outline is going to go on the right side of that line you just drew. So you're going to start with a Roman numeral 1 and then put 1, 2, 3. The good news is these outlines are short. Only 3.
But I rather do the keyword outline. Gives you more room.
Skip a line and do Roman numeral 2. 1, 2, 3. Skip a line, Roman numeral 3. 1, 2, 3. And actually, we might need a 4 here. So I'm going to put a 4 on that last one. Okay, on the very right above the Roman numerals is where I want you to trace the line across. We're making a chart. Okay, so right above the 2, the Roman numeral 2, right above the Roman numeral 3. And then wherever it ends, I like to just kind of close it off like that. And I leave the edges open. You guys remember this chart now?
Yes.
Okay, good. The first box, let's put in
Yep.
characters. If you don't remember it, it'll come back to you. Characters and setting. That's in the first box. And we're going to talk. What?
But this is fast.
Yeah, I know. Am I going too fast? I'm going to just keep going because we're running out of time.
I don't know what time it is.
That's all right. You're going to put characters and setting and then who, where, and when. Those are the things you talk about in the first paragraph when you're doing a story sequence chart.
Climax and something.
No, conflict and problem.
It is the left.
Yeah. Conflict and problem. That's when we ask what. And we can put want, need, think, say, and do. Just put those notes on the side there. This is for that box. What do they want or need? What do they think? What do they say? What do they do? You're basically talking about the problem or the conflict that's going on. And the last one, I'm going to keep going, but I'm going to leave it here. You guys just keep writing, okay? Climax and resolution. And you're going to answer the question, how solved? And then message or lesson. So sometimes these types of stories teach us a lesson or there's a message about it. Okay. So give me a thumbs up when you got all that down. I know it's a lot to write down. Okay. I see that. Good.
Like the Lego Batman movie.
You can handle it. You guys are doing it. That's good. The story is not too long. Let's look at the story next. And I'm just going to go ahead and read it. This is on page 37. Was there anybody else that was still writing? Okay. Maui and the giant fish. I'm just going to read it and then we're going to talk about those different elements of the story. It says, Maui wished he could go fishing with his brothers. Every time they came home from the sea, Maui begged to fish with them. But Maui's brothers refused. No, you're too young to fish with us. Maui must prove he could fish. Secretly, he wove a fishing line. While he worked, he recited a karakia, a prayer. Okay, so as he's making this fishing line, he's praying. May this line catch a great fish. And then Maui took a jawbone that his grandmother, Muri Ranga Wenua, had given him for a hook, and he tied it to the fishing line. Early next morning, Maui hid in his brother's waka. By the way, a waka is a type of boat. Okay. They paddled quietly, so he's hiding inside this boat. And when they were far out from the land, Maui showed himself. What are you doing here? The brothers scolded Maui. But Maui stood firm. Muri Ranga Wenua told me I would become a great fisherman, so I have come to fish. Cast your lines out. I will say my karakia. And no sooner did the brothers cast their lines than the fish were biting. They caught so many fish that the waka was almost sinking. Now it's my turn to fish, said Maui. Give me bait for my hook. But his brothers only laughed. Maui clenched his fist. Then he punched himself in the nose. Yes, you read that right. He punched himself in the nose. His nose bled, and Maui wiped his hook with his own blood. Maui stood in the waka and cast his line out. So basically, he needed bait, and the brothers are like, ha ha ha, you're not going to get bait. And he's like, okay, then I'll get my own. And he punches himself, and he uses his blood. Okay. Instantly, Maui's actually, Kylie, you could use your binder and cut, use your own blood for.
Pretty smart.
Okay, anyway.
Not by a lake.
Instantly, Maui's line tightened. The brothers quit laughing and clutched the sides of the waka. They began to course across the waves. Cut the line, we'll drown, a brother cried out. But Maui held on and slowly pulled a great fish to the surface. The brothers trembled with fear, for the giant fish towered over their tiny waka. This is the fish that Mari Ranga Wanua said would be granted to us, Maui declared. Guard it, and I will soon return with our people. The brothers agreed to guard the huge fish while Maui traveled to Hawaii. However, they began to chop up the fish, claiming parts of it for themselves. When Maui returned, his people were amazed. Maui is the greatest fisherman ever, they proclaimed. The brothers still chopped the fish and argued. They had cut very large valleys and mountains from the fish's flesh. Over many thousands of years, these valleys and mountains became part of Aotearoa, I think is how you pronounce
New
that.
Zealand.
How do you say it?
New Zealand.
Yeah, New Zealand. As we know it today, the people of Hawaii moved onto the great fish of Maui, and in time, Maui's giant fish was called the North Island of Aotearoa, and Maui's waka, the South Island. So it's a made-up story of how New Zealand was formed. Obviously, it's not really formed from a fish, but that's a story that they've told over the years. Here's a picture of New Zealand, and that would be like the
It kind of does look like a fish.
kind of, and they cut it up into pieces here. That's what they're saying. That's where they're saying New Zealand came from. Okay. So going back to the beginning, this is kind of broken up like the story sequence chart. The characters are pretty much introduced in the beginning of the story. So obviously Maui is the main character, so we're going to list him first here next to Roman numeral 1. So next to Roman numeral 1, I want you to put Maui and his brothers, right? They're part of this, and the brothers are going fishing, so I'm just going to put fishing. I'm doing this kind of quick because we were running out of time, but so we're introducing the characters and the setting. We can assume that the setting is in the water, somewhere in the ocean. What were you going to say? Okay. The brothers are fishing. Maui really wants to fish, but the brothers aren't letting him. So what does he secretly do?
Go into the boat.
Before that, though, he wants a crew. Yeah, he makes his own fishing line, right? So he wove his own fishing line. We're setting up the plot here. He wove his own fishing line secretly. And then he used the jawbone that his grandmother had given him for a hook. That was the next part. So we're setting up that part of the scene here. So we're going to put his grandmother. She's a character, not necessarily there, but she's mentioned. So we're going to count that. And then the jawbone. Grandmother, jawbone. And we could put hook here. That's what she gave him for a hook. And then you're right, Kylie. From there, he sneaks in the waka and he hides in the waka. I'm going to put hid. I'm keeping this past tense. So hid, waka. And then they paddled far from the land. I think I only am going to use those 2 words there. All right, since we're out of time, your homework is only going to be to do this first paragraph because we didn't have time to really finish this. So you're going to do this similar to what you've been doing with your other keyword outlines. However, you only have a little bit of information here. So you're going to need to add sentences to this in order for it to be in order for it to make sense. But here's the gist of it. You're trying to introduce these characters and what they're doing, where they are. They're in this waka, in the water. And so you want to make sure to explain the beginning of this story. It's only 1 paragraph. We're going to do 2 and 3 next week. Okay. I kind of went fast here, but you're going to just focus on paragraph 1, which should be really easy. You're going to need your checklist. There are 3 dress ups now: ly, who, which, and strong verb. So you need to have one of each of those in there. And remember, last week we did those banned words, so watch out for those. Don't use those banned words anymore. They're on there now. Okay, it's that blue page. Make sure you don't use any of the banned words. Aubrey, did you have a question?
Yeah, you were only writing the first paragraph, right?
Yep, only the first paragraph, because we'll finish these next week. So yep, that's right, just 1 paragraph. And you might find another word you could add here. I couldn't think of anything and it's time to go. So if you want to add another word here later, you can, and you're going to need to fill in other sentences too. Okay, Aubrey? Just to make this paragraph make sense. Any other questions about the homework? Okay, so you're going to do your grammar and just the first paragraph of this story. Using your checklist, you got some things to watch out for on here. Yes, Alex?
What do you mean by like filling in other sentences?
Okay, good question. So like, you know how we've been practicing each one of these is a sentence. So you might start by saying, one day there was a boy named Maui who lived with his brothers and they went fishing. And you might say something in between, like they lived near the water with their family or something like that. And then you can go into the next one. So you, instead of it just being 4 sentences long for your paragraph, you might need to add, you will need to add, I'll say it that way, you will need to add filler sentences so that it makes sense. Just try your best on it, Alex, and then I'll give you feedback on Google Classroom. I might say, okay, this sentence doesn't really flow, so maybe add an extra sentence in here to make it flow better.
Okay.
Yeah. We'll get into this. This is just your first time back with the story sequence chart. So it is a little bit different than writing a report. It's more about you adding to the story. So, but you would use these for sure for these sentences. Does that make sense, Alex? Is that better? Okay, kinda. If you need me to explain it more, you can stay on the Zoom and I can talk a little more about it if you need me to.
Am I allowed to like look at the story?
Yes,
Okay.
definitely, because you're going to need to remember details about the story. So you're allowed to look back. Yeah,
Okay.
good
Thank you.
question. You're welcome. Anybody else? Okay, I know that was kind of like marathon fast, but we did it. So good job, you guys. And I'll see you next week. Have a good one. Bye.